Hi again. Thought we'd have a little chat in Newcastle today in the UK. Now, I know that you're not a lazy guy and that you do the occasional run and the occasional lifting, but man, have you noticed how sometimes it's just so hard to get motivated to exercise? I mean, at least you and me put the effort in though. So many people just don't bother, do they? I actually heard a statistic the other day that more than half of all Americans never exercise at all. You know what it is? I think a lot of people just don't realize that we're meant to exercise and, be physical. Like if you look at how our bodies are made, it's like this cosmic evolutionary art project, isn't it? We were never designed to be living in 23-degree apartments with Wi-Fi and eating avocado on toast. We were meant to be out running barefoot through the wilderness chasing animals and getting caked in mud, weren't we? I suppose to some people who like already have a physically demanding job, the idea of doing extra exercise might seem a bit alien, mightn't it? Like, people who work in construction, like labourers who are carrying and lifting stuff all day. I guess to them doing anything extra physical, it's probably seems a bit unnecessary. But it's those other people, isn't it? The ones that just sit all day. They're the worst off. Like the ones in office jobs where the most exercise they get is to walk to the coffee machine. Like those people blow my mind. It's almost like they blank out the idea of healthy mobility. I mean, even if they were to just get up out of the chair 3 or 4 times an hour, it would be way better than just sitting there, slouched over all day. Because even just that act of standing up takes like this whole cascade of muscular, cardiovascular, neurological, and sensory responses to make happen. It's pretty mad when you think about it. I mean, obviously, getting your 10,000 steps a day to remind your body what it's meant to do is a better goal. But you know what I'm saying. How many steps is it you're walking a day again? Oh, and by the way, how's your training going? Like, are you actually still lifting in the gym? I know I said before, if you get bored of doing weights, you can always switch it up and do calisthenics. Just so long as you're doing an exercise that's intense enough to encourage muscle growth, you know? Like, the last thing you want is to start losing muscle as you get older. That shit will debilitate you. It really is so important to keep training, mate. Don't get into the habit of skipping too many sessions. We might not have to kill a wild boar and carry it back to the cave to eat anymore, but it doesn't mean we can't pretend. Oh man, you're going to ask me why, aren't you? Okay, well, it's important to keep exercising and lifting weights because, well, as you get older, our muscles they naturally shrink, So to keep those muscles strong, it's kind of like a rebellion against Father Time. It'll trigger your body to produce growth hormones, but you're also doing other stuff like improving your metabolism, boosting circulation. Think of it a bit like kind of keeping a machine well oiled where everything just works better and smoother. And actually, probably the best part of it is that your body starts working more efficiently too, which means like you're less likely to suffer from the usual age-related health problems like osteoporosis, heart disease, even cognitive decline. But mate, to me, the most interesting fact is the fact that exercising actually helps prevent shortening of the telomeres, and that helps maintain healthier DNA, which then extends the lifespan of your cells, so you're going to live longer. I'll tell you something else as well while we're talking about this. But by the way, this is only my own belief. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's accurate. I reckon that when you see your muscles pop, it has a psychosomatic effect as well, like one that makes you feel younger. I mean, I can't really prove it, but I'm almost certain it's true. I know I definitely feel younger when I'm in shape, and you probably do too, right? You know what one of the worst arguments is though? Like when you hear people saying, "Oh, well, if I'm going to get sick or die young, then whatever, it's just in my genes." I mean, I'm not saying genetics doesn't play a part, but the fact that you have such a big level of control over your environment and can literally give yourself the best chance of a long and healthy life through exercise, and it just shows it's worth the effort, right? It's like what I was saying to you at the weekend about how people need to force themselves out of comfort. Mate, the worst is when you see those people in mobility carts. And obviously, I'm not saying that people who can't walk or the ones that have good reason to be in mobility carts shouldn't be using them. But man, the amount of people you see on those things in certain places, it's like there's no way that amount of people are so crippled that they can't walk. Like, I wonder how many of those people, especially the overweight people, actually don't need a mobility cart and they're just being lazy. Actually, do you know the answer to that? Because if you do, you should definitely let me know. And you know what? Even the ones that genuinely do need the mobility car, how many of those guys could have prevented the illness if they took better care of their bodies beforehand through exercise and nutrition and sleep, you know? It's almost like everybody just assumes that they're going to get sick one day, so they don't even bother to do anything to prevent it. I actually make a conscious effort to make sure that doesn't happen. I mean, obviously, I can't guarantee it, but you can be sure that I'll be putting my best efforts in to hope that it doesn't. At least then I'd be able to say I did my best at preventing it, you know? I'm going to annoy you here because I know that you don't agree with everything that I say about frugal living. But if there's one thing that frugal living did teach me, it's the discipline and willpower to do the things that you don't want to do. You know, I don't want to go and work out several times a week, every single week. I don't want to walk an average of 80,000 steps every single week. I just know that if I don't do these things, I'm going to have a shorter, more miserable life. So I just shut the fuck up and do it, you know? Like, there's a reason people in the West have higher rates of cancer than other parts of the world. You don't need to look too far to figure that out. It's because so many people are out of shape and not exercising and not eating healthy. I don't know. Maybe some people just don't understand. Maybe they don't fully comprehend that eating loads of sugar and high glycemic foods is what's causing the insulin levels to be too high. You what? Why is that bad? All right, well, let's put it this way. Imagine your bloodstream is where the party's at, and insulin is like a bouncer that works there, the security guard. His job is to regulate the rowdy guys, which is the sugar, because they're the ones who cause the most trouble. But if too much sugar gets into the bloodstream, it's more trouble than the bouncer, the insulin, can handle. And then, just like in a bar fight getting out of control, it just becomes chaos because the sugar starts getting stored as fat instead of being used for energy. And not the good fat that you hear about either. It becomes this kind of like this visceral fat around your organs, which then leads to things like diabetes, heart disease, mood swings, and especially inflammation, actually. I mean, nobody wants that, do they? It's like if only they knew doing exercise was the antidote to inflammation. Maybe they'd do it more. I don't even think inflammation was a big issue before we had all these like modern comforts. You know, people would have no choice. They'd have to exercise in order to live. You know, going out, catching the food, planting and harvesting, all that necessary stuff for survival, wouldn't they? What's that saying again? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink, or something like that. Anyway, my point is, people have the freedom, don't they? They can choose their level of discomfort, and I know for the vast majority, including you and many others like you will choose to have your heating on, whereas someone like me, I'll choose not to have the heating on in order to live closer to like a natural lifestyle. And it's the same reason, just like most people will choose the escalator instead of taking the stairs, isn't it? It's their choice. I mean, for myself, I'm basically just trying to remind people about the potential negative effects of making those comfortable choices. Do you know what I mean? I don't even think it's that most people are necessarily lazy. I think most people have good intentions. They just fail to allow the conscious mind to be in control because, well, as we know, when the subconscious mind is in control, it's automatically going to gravitate to those dirty dopamine highs, isn't it? Sometimes I think people just need a bit of a push. It's like at school when you had to do PE, physical education. Most of the kids disliked PE, didn't they? But during and after they actually had a game of tennis or went swimming, it felt great. It's a shame that there can't be something similar for adults, isn't it? Like a compulsory sports hour 3 times a week. That would be pretty cool. Actually, if any companies did start implementing that, I think it would make a massive difference. Imagine getting paid to stop work and go and have a game of football. Actually, I bet the overall workload would improve because staff would start to feel happier and more motivated. Probably wouldn't even offset the loss of paying them for the sports hour. I'm feeling a bit of like a Dragon's Den moment coming on. No, but really, that's actually another thing I wanted to mention to you about exercising as well. The psychological differences. Like think back to COVID, how many people were losing their minds because they couldn't go for a run. I mean, to be fair, I was a bit baffled about why they didn't just do a cardio workout at home. But you know what I'm saying, right? Like the people that do exercise, they count on it to have good mental health as well as physical, and for good reason too. So if we then apply that to the people who aren't exercising and they wonder why they feel so depressed, well, like there's one of the major reasons right there. They're not applying any evolutionary pressure on themselves, are they? They're not getting the blood pumping to feel better. Imagine if they did, though, mate. It would be like magic for the mind, like a little revolution in their brain where they get all these endorphins and serotonin swirling around, making them feel on top of the world. Did you know it recalibrates your stress levels as well? Yeah, it sends a signal to your brain that you're in control, which then helps with like anxiety issues. It clears your head, and to be honest, most importantly, it gives you a sense of achievement. Oh, it's not just about the muscular gains, mate. It's the mental gains too. The bottom line here is that if more people put the effort in to seek out discomfort and push themselves physically in a way that complements how we were meant to live as humans, and not in a neon lit box surrounded by screens and plastic, but actually out walking in nature and carrying and lifting and running, like then they'd feel way, way more healthier. So many people just choose to be like sedentary zombies, don't they, instead? And then they wonder why they get sick at 40 or 50 or 60 or even 70. And let's also remember that for single guys, having a good body, it signals attraction to girls, doesn't it? Maybe not as much as the fitness world would like you to believe, but for sure some muscles gets girls' attention. I'm not saying guys should be out there hitting the gym solely for that reason, but it's definitely a perk, right? Although to be fair, if it's a guy who's lost weight thanks to a healthy diet and he wants to keep off the weight, then I'm sure that would be a much more compelling reason. Which, well, it makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Like, why would you not want to keep exercising if you're eating healthy? The two go hand in hand, and it just makes more sense than to do one or the other, doesn't it? But then again, anything is better than nothing at all. Even if it is just taking the stairs instead of the elevator. I mean, it would be great, wouldn't it, if more people did exercise to the point where they actually enjoyed it more? Because that's the thing, all those feel good chemicals that you get, they only actually start getting released when you exercise consistently. I think that's something people don't realize. But it's also a great reason to keep going as well. Like even if that means paying for a personal trainer or having someone to be accountable to. Sometimes it's a lot harder to say no to exercise when you know that there's somebody else that's relying on you. All I really know, mate, is that I can't imagine a life without exercise. It makes such a massive difference to how you look and how you feel. And spreading that message to other people, that's always a good idea.